What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 89 of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that's about Sonic news, and Sonic movie news. My name is Ethan, and with me for this half-year roundup is Devin.
Is this bowl missing a head, or does it have two butts?
That is probably from something. What is it from?
The Sonic movie.
Oh, yeah, that's where I recognize it from then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it didn't
we should
have
be
a
the
butt either.
masters of these quotes, considering the title of this show.
Jesus, I don't want to watch that movie all the time.
You don't?
No. I don't want, like, in an alternate universe, we were the show that just did, this episode is all about this tiny detail found in the movie. And next week, it's all about...
quit.
How many other movies have the exact same runtime as the Sonic movie? And next episode is, yeah.
How does it compare?
Exactly. If we were to double time the playback of the movie, how does it...
This time we watched it in reversed and see how it impacted us.
Now, however, again, I will say, alternate reality of what the show's purpose is would have still been hilarious if all it was when the movie finally came out, we just watch it again every week and re-review it.
I would have quit after like the fourth week.
In an alternate universe, that would have been the funniest shit ever. Imagine now, right? And like you hear a news story or like an article is like someone found the podcast and like every fucking episode is they just watch the movie again and re-review it. Every single one. And they've been doing it for a year. You know, all like the Mimi Twitter accounts are things that's like super dedicated to a thing. And it's like, how? You know what I mean?
It's like the one YouTube channel I follow. It's called Who Rang the Dinkster? From the scene from Spy Kids 3 where a dude comes down and said, "Did someone ring the Dinkster?" This YouTube channel posts a video every day of that clip. And they've been doing it for like 4 years.
Right? That's funny. It's a lot less commitment than this.
And once in a while they do like a little spin-off version of it, or like it'll have like something in it. But most times than not, it's the exact same thing every time. So I guess there is an art to that. Yeah, I would have gone insane.
It's commitment.
Either quit or it would have died.
Nah, we could. I mean, here's the beauty of it, Devin. Here's the beauty of that. We could have just recorded episode back to back and just said we rewatched it every single time. You could clock an entire month. You just clock 4 episodes back to back. That's all of April done. You know what I mean? You just do that back to back.
Kind of like what we're doing now.
Not really, but kind of close.
We were doing an episode back to back, but don't. We usually keep that a secret.
On today's episode of the Sonic Movie Show, let's jump back in time to what Vin Diesel was... oh, shit, I get them all confused now. No.
All these realities in my head.
Exactly. Sega Super Remastered releases July 4th, 2021. We did a bunch of stuff this year so far, and it's kind of like a midpoint of the year. Kind of. I don't know when this is going up. I think it's closer to midpoint.
Close to half of the year.
Whatever. It's E3 time. E3 already happened if you're listening to this, but the day we're recording it, it's E3 time, and like, yeah, we could have been smart enough to plan ahead and actually do a predictions episode, but like, listen, buddy, we're only here for one thing, and that was already announced at Sonic Central, Sonic Games, so like, I don't think we're seeing any of that anyway. Yeah, I could go on and on about Square Enix or like Sony shit, but
Sonic does drop during E3.
Right, maybe. Maybe it'll be at the Xbox one.
Then this episode will be even further in the future.
Well, I mean, I guess my prediction was that, like, they dropped the idea of the game now so that it could be at the Microsoft one, or the Sega, or Sony, or Nintendo one, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, Microsoft showing off Sonic Rangers, but, like, whatever.
There's our prediction. There's our E3 prediction.
Exactly. Were we right or were we wrong? You'll literally know by the time you listen to this. But prediction time on Twitch bets. Yeah, but we did a bunch of stuff this year, and I think it's a good timing to do one of these, because what else are we going to do? Every now and then, when we do like a fun topic or whatever, we talk about what we've been watching or playing or whatever. Sometimes this happens when we're not making video games about Eggman. And we do it now instead. But I'd like to chronicle the whole thing, this first half of the year, in one big episode. I want to know what you've been playing, watching, or listening to, Devin. Consume.
So we haven't done this in a while. I don't remember the last time we did this.
Months.
Was it months? I remember doing it about Godzilla.
I don't think we did it for
Versus Kong.
the Tales episode.
No,
So,
we didn't.
It was a list topic we did.
I've been watching. I think so. This year, compared to last year, I think I tried to focus more on catching up on a lot of video games or just playing more games in general. And I think I generally succeeded in that because I feel like I had some decent opinions going into the Game Awards. For once, being like, "Hey, I know what these games are." Like I wasn't totally.
I mean, you had played 3 of the Game of the Year nominees: Hades, Last of Us, and Final Fantasy. Right?
Don't know if it's going to happen this year. I'll be honest with that. Just because
we could do predictions on what they are. Like, I imagine would Resident Evil be on there? Crash and Clank probably will. That's been getting really good reviews.
Yeah, but the issue, I don't have a PS5, so I feel like that kind of technically I could go get the game on PS4 or whatever, but like I don't know. I'm in no rush to play any of the exclusives because I feel like it'd be kind of cool to like get the PS5 and have some to choose from, or I can hear which ones are good and which ones are something not for me, like Returnal, like a game I would not pay for and also have fun in. So like
I love Returnal.
So this year I will say I've been watching more stuff than I've been playing.
Okay.
I hope in the later 6 months here that will change and I can kind of balance it back out in time for the Game Awards because I think we're going to do that again, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it was fun.
But yeah, I've been watching more stuff, so I'm going to start with that first. I kind of have a general list here, but maybe we do what we did with one of our previous episodes where we just talk about some of the games we liked. We don't necessarily give out awards or anything, but like we just went back and forth, and I kind of like how we did that. So like maybe I'll start with something, and then you can say something.
So to kind of recap a bit for me, last year it's kind of like we were flipped because last year I watched a whole bunch more stuff than I did this year. In fact, this year I watched superhero shit, and that was it. But for the most part, I've been playing games way more than I did last year. Lots of old stuff, lots of new stuff. So yeah, like we're flopped. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I think maybe it's just like the ebb and flow of how we consume media. Sometimes I think you just kind of like. I mean, I think it also didn't help that movie theaters were gone.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like I would have been spending time doing that instead of.
And I don't feel like subscribing to all of those.
Yeah,
subscription services. So
yeah. But I think I mentioned this one briefly that I started it in a previous episode, but I finally finished it a couple of weeks ago. A South Korean show on Netflix called Sweet Home, which I found out was actually based off a webcomic in Korea. They adapted it into the show, which makes a lot more sense the way it kind of like went. Because I generally wanted to go in this year trying to watch more foreign stuff. Because I feel like there's a lot of stuff we miss as Americans because of various reasons. One, maybe marketing. Also could just be us being ignorant that like, oh, it must not be good. If it isn't Hollywood, it ain't good. I don't believe that. So like I've been trying to find like random weird things I see on Netflix. I'm like, oh, if this was probably made in America, I probably would watch this. And I'm like, okay, it has some weird monsters in it. Looks like it takes place all in one thing, one area. This seems interesting. I wound up watching it, and there's some moments I liked. I didn't like love it, but I liked it and enjoyed it, and I thought it had some cool moments. I really liked some characters in it that I haven't seen in our TV shows, and it kind of like plays on some of the like apocalypse human interactions a little bit. Like there's a lot of comedy bits in there I wasn't expecting. And then all the other moments where it's like super serious.
I remember you talking about this a little bit before.
Yeah.
But you hadn't finished it yet.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they're making a second season. It kind of ended on a cliffhanger. So I kind of hope they make a second season because I'm invested now. I'm not sure. I did look up to see if the web series is available in English. It isn't, unfortunately. Like it isn't written in English. So, because I was thinking of getting it and like reading and seeing like, okay, in case the story doesn't, or we don't get a second season, at least I know how it ends. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It kind of, I still think there were some translation issues because I feel like the show's themes were generally about like depression and like anger and like a lot of like more negative emotions, because a lot of like how it works is like the monsters, people who could turn into monsters are usually people who are in those kind of funks, or were either struggling mentally, or like were just angry people, and like they would turn into some monster based off their feelings. I just found that very interesting. I don't know if it's trying to, because I remember in the beginning of the film it mentioned something about like this is for all the people who like lost their lives to mental illnesses, but then like at the same time I don't know if it does a great job of like making a point of like, oh, we can get better. It's more of just like you become a monster, and I'm like, I don't know if that is a good way of fighting mental illness stigma, by being like, hey, don't be pissy because you might turn into a monster and then everyone will like shit on you. But at the same time, there's moments where they don't do that. It's so hard to explain, like, since there's so many episodes. There's like not so many, there's 10, but 10 hours worth of content there that can go in and talk about each episode. But generally, if you're into I guess comic book based things, or if you like horror or like apocalypse stuff, I'd recommend it. It's interesting. It's a cool show. I would give it a shot. At least give it the first like 1 or 2 episodes. I'd give it a shot. It's pretty interesting.
Fun fact. Yeah. Sweet Home, also the name of a Shinji Mikami game that predates Resident Evil. That is what Resident Evil is based off of.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Exactly. I guess my turn. One thing I also had mentioned that in a previous thing where we talked about what we were playing and watching or whatever was a game that I played and platinumed at the beginning of this year, Final Fantasy 13. This was a game that I rented back in the day and fell in love with, but thought it was way too hard. For some reason, me and RPGs as a kid was like, I was one of those kids that when you played Pokemon, I would avoid all as many battles as possible and would get upset at how hard it was to actually beat the game. You know what I mean? I remember doing that in this game back in the night. Grinding, why would I grind? I want to see more of the story, etc., etc. The game was fun. The gameplay was fun, but for some reason, it was always one of those things where it's like, I just want to move on, right? Going back to this game now, for the context of platinuming it for this year, as I do for a lot of stuff now, I platinumed quite a bit this year, and I plan on doing more. It's funny, you see a lot more about, like, not just the minutia of the game, but, like, what the purposes of each role in the game. What's this aspect, what's this mechanic supposed to do? For the most part, and for a game like this, some platinums are like, yeah, there's 20 of these to collect. You just need to collect 5 for a trophy. And you don't need to collect the other 15 for anything else for any of the other trophies, so you don't have to do it all. But this is one of those platinums where it's like, you need to know this game top to bottom, and you need to do fucking everything. Do it all. Everything. You need to be an expert on this game. This is one of those platinums. That's why it's so daunting, and I'm glad I did it. So, like, it's funny when you play a game like that, or go through an achievement list, a platinum trophy list, or whatever, that is like that, you really do see a lot more of, like, what the intent around the game was. And that's one of those games where it's like, it's night and day between I'm playing this to beat it and I'm playing this to understand how it works. It's almost 2 different games. There's so much shit in that game that's like, no one would ever want to do any of these when they're just trying to play and beat the game. Some games are like that. This was one of them. Because the story for the most part is like, okay. Most people like play Final Fantasy or whatever for stories. People like their big stories in games. And the story is just okay, so people just kind of like want to go through it and beat it. Characters are all right? This was one of those games where it was long-standing franchise coming to a new platform. This better blow our fucking socks off. Because you remember the last time this series came to a new platform, PlayStation 2, was Final Fantasy X. That was great. And the one before that was Final Fantasy VII. And you can end the conversation there. People expected this game to be that back in 2010 when this came out. But playing it now, I'm like, this is not bad. There's so much shit in here that sucks, but it's not bad. I don't really have anything more to say about it other than the fact that I do expect it to. I'm confused. I don't think you say Final Fantasy 13. Did I not say it? I said it at the beginning.
Yeah, I must have missed it because I'm like, I think I know what it is, but I'm also not 100% sure.
Oh yeah, no, it was Final
Just
Fantasy
in case,
13.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, platinumed it back in February. And that's mainly because it had a sequel. And the only reason why that sequel exists is because they made so many art assets that never went into the game that they felt that they need to recoup some of that loss. So they made a second game. And then they made a third game. And none of those left PS3 or Xbox 360. They're on Steam, but like they're not on PS4 and Xbox One. So I guarantee, and folks probably already know because this is one of my predictions, is they'll bundle the trilogy on PS5 and Xbox Series, yada yada, right? That's my thinking, is that they're doing it. That's why I want to get PlayStation 3 trophies out of the way now, so I never have to feel guilty about not finishing them. I can just move on, right? Because there are some games I'm doing, like Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm not going to platinum that on PS4 because all my trophies as soon as, and actually I could probably do this right now because the day we're recording is the day it came out on PS5. You upload your save, all the trophies pop on PS5 that you got. I'm just going to platinum it there. I'm going to finish it there. That's what I did with Spider-Man on PS4. I'm not going back to the PS4 one. I don't care. So I don't want that guilt, right? What else have you watched?
Since you did a video game, I kind of want to do a video game now. Unfortunately, I haven't played too many video games this year besides like maybe some oddballs here and there on Twitch. But I've been playing CS:GO like normal. But I want to talk about
the global offensive.
Yes, but I want to talk about another RPG. You know which one I'm talking about. Persona 4 Golden. You gave it to me for
birthday.
Or I didn't remember if it was Christmas or birthday. Mm-hmm. But been playing it. Took a little break and then came back, and it's refreshing. I think it's one of those games for me that like I enjoy, but since it's grind heavy at moments, I can get quickly turned off. I'm someone, and I've realized this in the last like 2 or 3 years when it comes to just things I consume, is that it needs to hold my hand, generally speaking, but give me some freedom. But generally speaking, it should hold my hand. Story or whatnot should keep moving. I don't have time to grind too much, so like I hope that the game will keep me moving. So I was worried about that going in, and so far I've been enjoying it. I just don't know how much I like the RPG elements. I like the story; it has a charm to it for sure. Definitely reminds me of like a lot of the dumb shit we would say when we were teenagers or get in spats about when we were teenagers, you know? So like it has that charm to it. And I've learned to kind of appreciate it, and it's generally got me interested in like what the other ones were. I don't know if I'll ever play those in the near future, but it is something that like, hey, I know what this is about now, because I hear everything about Persona from people who love the game, people who hate the games. So I feel like I finally did it, and I'm like, okay, I know what this staple is. You know, to me, I always consider Persona as like one of the staple RPGs / dating simulator games. In a way. But yeah, I've been really enjoying it. Like I said, I took a break because I played it 3 times, about 3 hours each, and the third time was like, out of the 3 hours, like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, was all just going in the dungeon, going in the castle there, and going through the same hallways, fighting the same couple enemies, and like I get it. I get why people might like this. For me, I was just like, all right, this is kind of cool, but I don't want to do it like this many times, you know? Like, I want to get to the boss and fight the boss. And I got my ass kicked by the boss. Took a break, came back, rejuvenated, grinded, got some new personas. I like making the personas. I think that's cool. Kind of changes it up a little bit. But like the actual like combat, it's a little slow for me, and the amount of combat is a little too much, but it is what it is, and I'm just gonna keep playing it until either like it forces me to grind a whole bunch, or I get bored of the story. So we'll see. Maybe I'll have to take breaks here and there to just keep it going. Maybe I'll finish this game in 5 years, for all I know. So
hey, I never beat it, and I thought that game was really fun. So I never even got like the last character.
And I've also learned in the last 2 or 3 years is that it's okay not to finish a game. it's
Right.
okay. So I'm getting better at doing that in the last couple years here. So, but I wanted to just give that game a shout out because I think I really haven't played that many other games. I was gonna mention Knockout City, but I've only played maybe like 10 hours of that, and I think it's a fun sports competitive game to play with friends. But like it isn't like I'm not like game of the year or anything. I'm just like it was fun. I'm probably will still play it.
Yeah, I fell off that game after our time, but I wasn't also the person that bought V-Bucks instead of the game itself.
Yeah.
Did EA ever like what happened with there? Did you just buy the game?
I reached out to them. They're like, "Oh, you got to reach out to Steam." And I reached out to Steam, and they're like, "Gotta reach out to EA." I'm like, "I'm not doing all this. Whatever. I'll just pay the $20."
That's how they get you.
Granted, all that money was all my Steam wallet, so like it was all CS:GO cases. So technically, I didn't lose any money. It was all free money that I lost. So I'm like, I wasn't too upset about it, but I'm just like, I'm more just like, I don't know what happened here. Whatever. The game's always fun.
I'd like to transition to a game that's not fun that I played, but it's one that I wanted to play nonetheless. Drakengard 3, otherwise known to people that do not listen to the show, Dakengards 3.
Or Dankengards.
We love our Screamer Girls here on the Drakengard 3 stream. This is Drakengard is a series that Nier, which we love, Nier Automata, Nier spun out of, but also intertwines with, and I don't know the full story with that. That's why I wanted to play all of them, right? So I played Drakengard 3 almost right away back in the day after I finished and platinumed Nier Automata. I'm like, cool, I platinumed this game. I want to play another Yoko Taro game. I'll play the last one he did, which was this one. I'm like, oof. Stopped. Came back to platinum it this year. This game has the shittiest story I've ever seen from someone I respect for the story alone. The gameplay is so repetitive and not interesting. It doesn't behoove you to do anything that might seem a little bit harder to pull off, but the rewards, there is no good or better rewards for pulling off harder stuff. It is a hack and slash. Armies come, you beat them up. You're a Screamer Girl. Your character gets soaked in blood the more you fight things because it's hot, right? There's a dragon, and the frame rate's 5, and the story's really bad.
5.
Oh my god. Like, the game's idea of humor is simply nonstop referencing fetishes and just killing people. Like, there is... What I appreciate about Yoko Taro, and this is something that apparently is evidenced since the very beginning of his work, the first game he ever directed was the original Drakengard. Jesus, I'm doing it. It's so stuck ingrained in my head. The original Drakengard is the idea that he went, apparently, played, he liked games or whatever. So all these games were pretty much every game, what you're doing gameplay-wise is violence of some degree. Even Mario ends creatures' lives. Maybe not lore-wise, but I don't know, you jump on a Goomba and he disappear. You know what I mean? Like, there's always that. If you were to make a realistic game, who the hell would be the type of person that would continuously do all of these killings? They gotta be crazy, right? I understand that might be like an ableist saying or whatever, but like, whatever. Like, they're insane, they're whatever. Like, someone that enjoys, like, or not even enjoys, but is willing to go through all of this killing, there's gotta be something going on. In the original Drakengard, apparently the guy was insane. You played as an insane person. He didn't make Drakengard 3. Square had some other person make it. But then he made Nier and Nier Replicant, rather, which I haven't played. I know all there pretty much is about that game. But I know that game, and I've seen this in Drakengard 3, and it's definitely in Nier Automata, and I'm assuming it's even in the original Drakengard. I don't know, because I never played that. A central theme of stuff he likes to put in everything is the lengths people will go to justify killing other people. Oh, they're the bad guys. Apparently, even the original Nier, most of the story is essentially his response to seeing how patriotic and willing Americans were to kill brown people after 9/11 happened. Apparently, it's just like yep, I don't care now, like, type of justification that people had for just letting people die, right?
That was a legitimate thing. I mean, we were young, but even I still remember, like, the just blinded patriotism of, I mean, even as a kid, I was just like, shit, man, like, if anyone who looked like Osama bin Laden was at the grocery store, I can't trust him. Like, and like that's legitimately was ingrained into us because of that. So, like, he's not wrong.
But I have the remake of Replicant. I still need to play it. Well, probably by the time this episode goes up, I'll probably have started it. And I do want to go back and play the PlayStation 3 version. But I see even in this game, too, there is characters, like each of the different characters, besides maybe the main person, is like a cookie cutter anime trope of like, here is my personality. It is this color. This other person is this color personality and this. My shtick is this. My shtick is that. And a couple of them are the like more murder crazy people. And it is easier to see like, why are we justifying this killing? The main character in this game is killing her family. Why? And blah, 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 blah. And Nier Automata is even easier to see, the lengths people go to justify murdering everyone or anyone or very specific people, right? That's what I appreciate in case. But Drakengard 3 is terrible. It's practically irredeemable. I would only recommend it to anyone that wants to play Yoko Taro games. That's like, I'm down for the shit. You go in knowing it's terrible and you'll walk out okay. I also platinumed this game, which sounds like it's even worse. But the one thing he likes to fucking do, and thank God he didn't do it in Nier Automata, in order to, how Nier Automata, I guess this is spoilers, but not really, because you should know this going in, it will make your lives easier, and this is what I wish the marketing straight up told you how the game worked. It doesn't have multiple endings. It just has stopping points where the credits roll. Think about it like that. It's a linear story. Like, yes, after ending A, you do technically play the story again, but it's a different character, and you're seeing different events at certain points. And then after that, then the second half of the game, you know what I mean? But you know how there's like ending A, ending B, ending C. This game does that too. In order to unlock the last segment, what would be ending D leading up to that, between ending C and D, that segment, you need to have acquired every weapon in the game. Which means doing all the side quests, essentially. You need almost 100% the game to even finish it. And he apparently did that in the original Drakengard. And apparently Nier has... its like true ending is locked behind some shit like that too, and thank God Automata didn't do that. You just needed to, no spoilers, but there's a choice at the very end of the game. You pick one, you finish, you chapter select right back to the choice, pick the other one, then you get to see the true ending after that, right? At least that. You didn't have to collect all the weapons, and that was annoying in that game because I platinumed that game. So, like, platinuming this wasn't that bad because I kind of already I had to do the brunt of it just to see the credits roll anyway, so. But yeah, that was that terrible game for me. Glad I finished it, though. I could get it over with. I can say I did it. Not too many people can.
Let's see here. I'm going to do this one. I've been watching Handmaid's Tale. Been watching this since it came out. In 2017, I think is when the first season aired. It's on Hulu. It's been on. I think this is season 3 or 4. I don't know what season it is. It's based off a book. I know a lot of people recommend it to me, and like eventually, my girlfriend and I sat down and watched it. If you're into trauma and religion gone too far, then this show is for you. I like the show, but I hate the main character. Like, I don't know if it's on purpose or not. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to hate the main character, or like maybe not hate, but like be mad or angry by decisions.
One of those things where you could like what did you ever see Breaking Bad? You can disagree with everything the main character did, but you liked him. Is it like you disagree, but they also suck? Is it that like that? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna like spoil it because I do recommend it. I'm just pre-warning that there is a lot of like bad shit in it. Because obviously it's basically the whole premise is, what if like extreme Catholics took control of a nation during a time when humans aren't able to reproduce as well as they could. That's the premise. And basically there's enslavement of women who can have kids, and they're forced to have kids through their means of their religion. But there's still, like, Canada exists, for example. It takes place, like, America basically goes under, of course. But anyways, the main character is, starts off as I don't want to spoil it. Basically, they make a lot of decisions that cost a lot of people's lives at points where I didn't think they had to make those decisions, because either they were acting selfishly. Then there's moments when I feel like they should have acted selfishly and they're not, and then more people die or she gets hurt. And I get really frustrated because there's other characters I like in the show more than her, and they're just like the side characters. And I'm like, no, show more of this person. And I get what they're trying to do. And like I said, I hate her character at moments, but like I get what they're trying to do. But sometimes I don't understand if they're really trying to make me like I'm not supposed to agree with her here, or think that if it's supposed to be added for tension or not. Elizabeth Moss is the actor of this character, and she's actually been directing some of the episodes now. I think she does a good job directing. There's a lot of cool shots in this show, a lot of close-ups of faces, a lot of like I call them like power shots, where it shows like a character's power over another. A lot of low angles or angles over the shoulder looking down at a character, a lot of that kind of stuff. So if you're into like cinematography, the show has a lot of great cinematography, a lot of good shit like that. But it definitely is trauma porn. There's a lot of just like, this character is fucked up now. Like, and they're like dealing with it. They're dealing with their trauma a lot. But it isn't like trauma porn like Midsummer was, or Hereditary. Like, that's like horror trauma porn. This is like straight just like psychological, like, wow, they went through a shitty time. That sucks. Here's how they're dealing with it. And here's like, now they have to make decisions based off of it. And now their relationships with people are hurt. I like the show. I don't love it, but we try to watch it every week when the new episode comes out. I'm not sure if the book is like, if it's like a Game of Thrones scenario where the book series is done and they're just making the show or whatnot. I'm not sure, but I have my beef with the show at moments, but there's some cool characters in it and some cool plot points that happen that make me recommend it. If people who do watch it, let me know if you're frustrated with June or not. I'm frustrated as hell at moments where I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? This is too much risk for what you're trying to do. Like, what are you doing? Like, I'm like one of those, like, I never usually talk to her.
Gotta have the balls to do it though, dude. Whatever she's doing, you gotta have those balls to do it.
But it'll be dumb shit. Like, that's my issue. Like, there's times when to be a revolutionary, and then there's times when like she's like, I'm gonna do this, and I'm like, why? That person got their hand cut off for doing this. What are you doing? Like, stop. No. Like, that's my energy. Like, watching her sometimes. But I do like the show. I do like the show. But we've been watching that probably, but I'm not sure how many more episodes are left this season, but we're getting towards the end here.
Okay.
Speaking of trauma.
Fuck, okay, if that's your segue. A game I played a lot of but haven't finished is Returnal. That is traumatic. So Returnal is made by a studio called Housemarque. Housemarque has been famous for making very arcadey, often twin-stick spaceship shooter type stuff. Or just like, I forget what it was called. Dead Nation, which was a twin-stick zombie survival game. You know, everyone liked Super Stardust, and Resogun was the PlayStation 4's best launch game, etc., etc. This is their first AAA, $70, console exclusive, like, set piece, like, where you're showing off hardware. It's a first-party game, essentially, for PlayStation 5. It's like a PlayStation Studios branded thing, but they don't own Housemarque. But, like, they paid them to make a game for them, therefore it counts, I guess, for whatever their loose term for PlayStation Studios is. Returnal is, like, their best game. And it's obvious just because it's a bigger scope than any of these smaller arcadey stuff that's just score driven. It's a roguelite, kind of like Hades is, where there is a narrative reason for why this character comes back after death. It isn't just as if it didn't happen, like any other roguelike. Like this person dies and knows they died and now they're back. And how they've handled it, I looked briefly at the trophies, and maybe this is spoilers. This is minor spoilers. The game is in 3 acts. I completed Act 1 at one point and moved on. But all throughout Act 1, I'm like, okay, yeah. So she's stranded on an alien planet. She was in a scout ship, in like some near future, not NASA, but like whatever came out of NASA type of agency. Astra is the name, but like her mom was supposed to go on the moon mission or something. Not the moon mission, but like a NASA moon mission, something like that. And so this is, nearish future, right? This astronaut scout ship hears a distress beacon, goes for it even though she's given orders not to, crash lands on this planet, and every time you die, she relives the crash and has to start over. And the planet completely changes up how it works. And so I'm playing this game and I'm like, all right, the story is she's just trying to get off. She's trying to find the signal to get off or whatever. And she dies. And yep, they do things where it's clearly not time travel because you can see the other dead bodies of you. You can find audio recordings of herself. There is I don't want to call it like Dark Souls type of asynchronous multiplayer, but there is the idea of like I could die and my body's left somewhere and another player could find it and they could either scavenge my dead body or avenge whatever killed me, or perhaps I turn into a monster, whatever, right? Depends, I guess, if I'm online. I think I kind of noticed that if you're offline, you're just a monster, but you can avenge someone else and you get shit for it, whatever. But you can see other versions of you, never alive, but always dead, right? It's always you. So it's a linear story. You're just dying and you can see all this stuff, but it's a roguelite. So the planet's always changing, but it's not like a Spelunky in the sense that it's completely procedural. It is like Hades, where we have a bunch of set rooms and this is the order, Yeah. This game is very smart in that it tells you through the minimap, and it outright tells you this door is the main path door. This other door is a side path door. You can tell by the iconography, you can tell in the minimap what is bonus rooms and what is the main path to your objective. So how do you want to do that? Do you want to go to this? Do you want to go to that, etc.? And it's got all the trappings of a roguelite of like there are many different play styles, and you might find that it just because of randomness and all that, you're gonna have to play this way, and you find it actually is better. I'm having more fun than I was with this other method, right? Like in Hades, if I always used a shield, and then I'm like, well, the sword says it will give me more darkness if I pick the sword. So I got to the boss right away. Like that's awesome. This has those trappings, but I'm like, the story's whatever. Like this was supposed to be a big game, big story. This was a $70 game. I'm expecting this from a Sony thing. And like, yeah, her house is on the planet for some reason. And you go into these first person, clearly inspired by PT. Remember playable teaser, the Hideo Kojima Silent Hills demo that revealed itself to be a Norman Reedus playable video game? Clearly inspired by that, this like first person story segments. I'm like, these are creepy. Yeah, we learned that her mom hated her, whatever. I guess that's spoilers, but whatever. Because the mom never was able to go on a mission, she hurt her leg or something. I don't know. Whatever, right? And then I finish Act 1. And I'm like, holy shit, this is awesome. And then now I'm playing, I'm like, all right, this is great. And I will spoil this. So this is a spoilers, because I haven't finished this game. Because I know you, Devin, are not going to play this. You said earlier there's not
Probably
the game
not.
for you.
I mean, unless you think it's something I actually could play.
I don't think you'd like the gameplay. So she's trying to, this is spoilers now. I guess at the 45th minute mark about there will not be spoilers. So you can, I don't know, whatever. I'm spoiling this part in the game. So the whole time she is trying to follow this signal, and she's getting redirected to different biomes. She's warping to other areas of the planet, trying to get stuff to help her get to the signal. And you beat a couple bosses, and then you get to the signal. And the signal, for some reason, is something that can cut through the atmosphere for her to actually send her own signal to call for help. And the help comes. Astra comes, takes her home. She goes home. That's it. It's the end of the game. Like, oh, that's great. I'm playing there. I'm streaming it. And, like, you're seeing, like, flashes of, like, her happily playing piano at home. Now she has a wedding ring on. Now she has kids. Life. She's really old now. You can tell because her hands are really wrinkly playing that piano. And then finally you watch, technically it's first person perspective, even though she's dead, her being buried underground. And then she relives the crash and lands on the planet again. And it's like, holy shit. All that happened, and now she's back on the planet again. And it's not time travel.
So she's stuck in a loop, a little death loop.
Leaving was not the loop.
Yeah.
She didn't leaving the planet was not the loop. There's something else now. And I'm like, huh.
So
and also
even in death, there's like, it is a straight death loop in my eyes, and like
it's not the planet,
the planet,
it's her. yeah, I'm like, all right, this is really cool. And then immediately, because now this is Act 2, so now the biomes I've been in before are now completely changed. The desert's now snow, whatever, right? The first house segment, I go in, I'm like, all right. She walks up, and then it's like third person, obviously. The whole game's third person unless you get to those segments. Then it becomes first person. She walks up the door in third person, stands there, and then the camera zooms out, and it's a TV. And this little kid's holding a PlayStation 5 controller, and is like, oh, yep. And he puts the controller down. Now you're this kid. And like, you leave his bedroom, and wait, it's the house. And then you realize, oh, yeah, now I'm her kid walking around. And like, not often, and of course I don't watch so many scary movies, horror movies. We're not the 45-minute mark. We're still in spoiler mode.
Yeah,
I had to look there to be sure. But like, there's plenty of symbolism of like, obviously there's horror like tropes, and there's this type of character is always scary, or the idea of a monster under the bed or what not. But what can people find as a thing that to fixate on that's scary? You're like, well, obviously puppets are always scary, and clowns and aliens, whatever. But this game has the idea that our main character is haunted by just the image of a NASA astronaut. The astronaut's always just somewhere watching her. Sometimes in the game, you'll turn around, you'll look around, you see off in the distance, this astronaut's just watching. She's always haunted by this astronaut. When I'm as this little kid's talking to the astronaut. Astronaut's sitting at the table while the kid's trying to eat breakfast, reading a book. Kid tells the astronaut a story. The astronaut looks down and listens. Whole time, when you're playing as this woman, astronaut's just watching from afar. And the time she gets close enough is when she freaks out and passes out. Now this kid's interacting with the astronaut. And like, then the story segment ends, and I'm like, all right, I want more. So now this game went from being like a fun game to play, where the story was passive, to now I'm like, I actually don't want to play the game. I just want to know what happens now, type of stuff. But it's not like it is a very, I guess no spoilers now, not that you would know if you were pausing to listen to spoilers. But going back to the game itself, Housemarque has always been really good at making games that demand your perfection, expect perfection from you, because in order to get really good scores and already get to good gameplay loops and stuff in their games requires you to be perfect. The idea of getting hit at all increases massive penalties on you, and this game does that a lot. In great ways, where it really encourages you to, like, yeah, like this is a game where you have a health bar. You can get hit, that's fine. You're not dead. It's not like an arcade shooter like Resogun. If you got hit, you die, you lose a life. No, you get hit, you lose some health. But this multiplier you've been building up that literally gives you more bonuses when you're fighting resets to 0 as soon as you're hit once. And you gotta kill things to rack it back up. Where, alright, once you get to level 2 in it, now you can see where enemies are through walls. And once you get to level 3, your melee's stronger. Once you get to level 5, blah, 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 blah. Right?
That sounds wild.
It's a fun game, and it does that, the Hades thing of like, there's so many...
all these quote-unquote hard games, to me, like I've seen like screenshots of like monsters and stuff, and this goes with, like the Demon Souls and the Dark Souls. All these games have the coolest looking fucking monsters, and I'm into that shit. But guess what? I can't play it because I suck.
It's very fast.
And like that's my I play a little bit of Demon Souls, play a little bit of Bloodborne, and like it's a little bit easier than I thought, but it's still just a game that like requires so much time and whatnot. And I'm like, bummed because I'm like, there's so much cool like creature design, environment design that I'm just really into.
Mm-hmm.
That I just can't experience unless I just watch someone else play
some
it.
of the bosses in this game are so cool looking. Even the first one is just very simple, but it's just like, oh, it has 3 arms. It's actually kind of cool. Or like the second one's like this fallen Valkyrie angel thing, alien. And like I just beat one that's like a giant thing playing an organ, but it's like little like long looping fingers that go inside tubes, and that's how it's making the sounds, and it's just it's creepy and it's awesome. But it is very fast gameplay. This is a third-person shooter where your regular walking speed is probably twice as fast as someone's sprinting speed in other games. There are times where I'm not even holding sprint and I'm just running as this character. I'm like, lady, how are you moving this fast? This is impossible, you know? But like, and then you're sprinting. I'm like, oh my God, dude, did you collect enough rings? Did you go through a loop-de-loop?
When I watched it, there's so many like orbs and lasers to the point where it happened so quick. I didn't like, I remember this one guy I saw on Twitter was complaining. He's like, I don't know what I died by straight up because it happened so quick. And like everyone's like, oh, if you freeze it this second, you see that it shot a laser at you. And I'm like, I didn't see that. And I'm like, I would understand this frustration.
To be fair, what you saw was technically out of context. A lot of that stuff is layered that gets added on, introduced. The parts where it gets really crazy are either in A, bosses, and B, there are... I mean, Hades did it too, where it's not a boss, but it's a tough encounter. Or a unique enemy, you know what I mean? It's like a mini boss, I guess. There are plenty of mini bosses in here that are like, oh, it's like this creature, but this other element now, where like, yeah, it can warp in lasers or whatever. But yeah, it is definitely a game where it's like, you might realize you haven't blinked for a while because you've been focusing too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun.
My list is hella long, so I might just do like, at least 3 of them. I think I'm gonna save because we're gonna be doing hopefully at some point a live look into the brain that is Zack Snyder. I watched not just his Superman film and Batman vs Superman in the last 2 months. I've also watched Dawn of the Dead because for some reason I was craving to watch it, like just craving to watch a zombie movie, and I'm like, you know what? I remember Dawn of the Dead. Zack Snyder made it, and I was already watching his other movies. I'm like, he has an aesthetic. Let me see if it's in this. So I watched that, and I watched also because Army of the Dead dropped on Netflix, which he also did, and I watched that.
And I thought that was a TV show, and it's clearly not.
Nope, it's a 2.5-hour movie. So I'm going to save all my thoughts for that, but I did watch that. I wanted to give a quick shout out to H Bomber guys. I know this isn't like a movie, but like
it counts. I did Critical Role one time. You can you can do the
did a thing. If you don't know who H Bomber guy is, he basically does these like hour and a half video essays. But honest to God, I've watched multiple of his stuff. This might be his best one. It's about vaccines and like just the history of the anti-vax like movement and like where it comes from and how it's all just like a fucking fraud, like it's all just a money grab by some dude. But like he broke it down in a way that was digestible and funny, and
even though it's like an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, it flew
that
by.
Video has, as of recording, because I just popped up on, I still need to watch it, but it popped up on my main YouTube recommended thing, 6.5 million views, and it's like not even really all that old. You know?
Yeah, and it makes me.
And it's that long though. That's the point. Is what I'm trying to say. It's
I don't know how much.
That's a long ass video.
Yeah, I don't know how much he gets from Patreon. Clearly enough to spend the time that he does on these, but he deserves like Netflix money. Like someone needs to give him in like a 6-part Netflix series, 3 years to work on it, like $100 million to work on it because he is such a great storyteller. Like holy shit! Like it was so good. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, being like, "No fucking way! Like no way! No way! No way! No way!" And
someone on Twitter,
and he had all these cool animations and stuff too in it, like that he got people to animate stuff for it, and like it was a lot. Like I watched his climate change one, and like that one was really, really good. But he just upped the ante. I don't know, like every time he does it, he ups the ante, and I don't know how.
Yeah, I last one I watched was the War on Christmas one he did.
Yeah. That was good too.
Someone on Twitter pointed out, because you remember when he did that Donkey Kong 64 marathon, charity stream for mermaids. Not the idea of mermaids, but it was a trans charity. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm actually going to commit to saying the full name. Popped in or whatever. That's like a famous thing, right? Someone on Twitter pointed out that because what was his time? Like, we should add that to speedrunners.com or whatever. And someone said, no, that was on an emulator though, so it can't count. And then like the one of the head people on that website was like, I wish we could put it in because it's great. It was a good cause, but like rules are rules. And then H Bomber guy's like, I guess I got to do it again. So he might literally do another one of those things. And I can see it being, because that weirdly did blow up for him and made him more famous. Ironically, even though it's supposed to be using his clout to help a charity, like that instance ended up making him bigger.
But no, he's a very creative person, and it's inspiring to like see someone put that much effort into like something like that, and for it to be also well received is, I'm sure, super fucking rewarding. I mean, and it is super informational. Like, I obviously, if you're anti-vax, you're stupid. Sorry. But like he went in a certain way I wasn't really expecting. He didn't just go in being like, he didn't focus on the people who believe it necessarily. He's focusing on the causation of it. Where does it stem from? And just the whole history of it. And it was really, really entertaining. I highly recommend it. And I'm just doing all these quick ones because, like I said, some of my have like a one sentence thing about. Finally went back to the movies and saw A Quiet Place Part 2 with a friend because I was invited. And I'm like, you know what? Fine. I didn't like the first one, but it's okay. Second one I liked a little bit more, but I had its standard horror stuff in it. It does have some cool things that were original, but most of the other stuff I was like, I feel like I've seen this before. By the way, if you ever make an apocalypse movie or video game, please stop having people wearing makeup and having their hair look good. No one does that when the world's ended. No one's wearing makeup. Where are you getting eyeliner from?
You sure?
Why do you have eyeliner?
You sure?
Yeah. Like, everyone shits on Last of Us, but at least no one looks gorgeous. Everyone's dirty and shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or has a half beard going. I don't know. Just stop.
Okay.
But and then one quick last one. Bo Burnham had his Netflix thing. He's a comedian that I don't really watch too much stand up, but I did watch one of his stand up back in 2013 or whatever, and I thought it was cool. Had its moments. He does more like music based humor, like uses his music to like tell his jokes. And everyone was talking about this, and basically it all takes place in like one room over like a course of a year, and he did everything. He produced it, filmed it himself over the course of the year, all in this one room. I'm not sure if he actually stayed in that one room the entire time. Based off of it, it made it seem like he did, or if it was like he just got a studio apartment and just did it. But I'm like, but why are you doing that to yourself? I don't know. But I know he quit doing comedy, and like this is why it came out. Like when this was announced, everyone was shocked because he basically quit comedy because he was having panic attacks on stage and shit. It wasn't necessarily. I didn't find it like knee slapping funny. It had some like that's funny, moments, because it was a lot more like talking about like just real shit, like mental illnesses, talking about society. He had a whole bit with when he talks to a sock, and the sock's like criticizing him for not being more aware about like capitalism and how like rich people suck basically, and all this other stuff. He also mentioned like how workers need to seize the means of production. So everyone on like left Twitter was like, is he comrade? Like, did he go inside a fucking box for a year and come out awoken from a slumber or something? But no, it was good. Very artsy. He used a lot of cool he used a lot of small things to do big things, because it was all, like I said, in one room. So he had like these little lights, and he'd refract light off of it and do like cool lasers and stuff. But he had like skits where it was like funny, making fun of people, but then moments where it was just super dark. and just like about suicide and shit. And I'm just like, I don't know what this was, but it was cool, and it felt very like open and honest about his like mental health and stuff, and in a way that it made it less funny for me, but also real and like more respectable to me. Like, because half of the jokes were all about he was saying like, how can you make jokes in a time like this? Like, how is anything really funny anymore when there's people dying? And I'm just like, fuck. I do, and that happens to me a lot. I often think about, I'm like, you know, people, you know, you'll be like, there's moments where I'm just like, man, am I being too negative on like life sucking sometimes? Like, you know, I have it pretty good, but reality kind of sucks right now. And like, he kind of has moments of that, like while in his skits, like he'll be all like happy, and then like he'll just do a straight cut to like just like him being fucking mopey as fuck, or he'll just tell it like middle of that skit, he'll just be like, "Why are you laughing at this? Like, this is fucked up." Like, kind of energy, and it just, I don't know, it just really hit me, and I maybe more than other people who maybe don't have that kind of issue. Like, I definitely have issues where I don't know how to feel about like society or the political climate or whatnot, and I don't know what to do with that energy. So like, he kind of, I guess, showed that I'm like, I'm not alone in that. So I kind of felt relatable in that way to him. So I don't know, if you're into being sad but also comedy, I guess go watch it. And into like year-long art projects, go watch that. But other than that, it's really all I had on my list, I think. Oh yeah, and I watched Pan's Labyrinth.
I didn't like that movie.
I've seen it plenty of times, and I didn't realize. I learned a lot more watching it recently about like the Spanish Civil. Like, it made me research more about the Spanish Civil War, because I didn't know too much about it. We don't really talk about it in history classes. And maybe like find that he did put a lot of little details about like the rebels in the woods, because they were all like leftist rebels, like communists and stuff. And I didn't realize like at one point one guy literally had a hammer and sickle like on his vest and stuff. I didn't like see those things before because I wasn't aware of it. But I like that movie. I think it's classic Guillermo del Toro. He likes his
but like, his best work tales. Was being the man in Death Stranding.
Yeah, for like 5 seconds at least from what I played of it.
Well, it's just he's not voiced by him.
Yeah,
that's just his image. Like, they just captured his likeness.
But I only watched that because our power went out, and I'm like, well, the PlayStation at least, or not our internet went out. So I'm like, well, what do we have on DVD? And let's watch Pan's Labyrinth, sure. And then the power the internet came back on, and like right when it ended. So perfect timing.
My last couple things. Earlier this year, I jumped back into Street Fighter V, a game that was marred upon initial release, content bare, just lots of things to buy, though. The game didn't really have much in it. Keeps adding new characters and all that are cool and interesting. Liked playing it, but ultimately felt very basic. You played a character one way. If you don't play him this way, then you're at a disadvantage. Everyone knows all the matchups. Everyone's just having a basic, if I fuck up, then that means I lost. Not necessarily a different ways people play the same character. Over and over and over and over. And that game came out in 2016, season 1, 2, 3, 4, all like that. Finally, when the big boy leaves Capcom, because he's finally pushed out, even though everyone liked him because he's a good guy, the good face of their fighting game part of Capcom. When he finally leaves, and like the youngins finally start working on the game, all of a sudden now Street Fighter V is like awesome. It is like back to classic like Capcom fighting games of like, yes, every character has a lot of choice now. It isn't just they got one way of using this meter. Now everyone's got 2 ways initially and another 2 finishing ways of using this other meter. And there's so many like variants to how people use it. There's finally a mechanic that's similar to like the parry system in Street Fighter 3, where every single character can do this thing. It's a defensive thing. Everyone can do it. It's hard to master, but it's easy to learn. Everyone can work in this mechanic into their gameplay. They finally add something in here that just seems like a no-brainer. Why wasn't this here to begin with? Game's finally heating up. They're adding in cool characters. They're stalling for time because Street Fighter 6 was apparently in such bad condition. They never announced that game, but people know from behind the scenes that game was supposed to be a PS5 launch title. And that clearly is not happening. That game got started over. So they're just, all right, we're making another season of Street Fighter 5. They might even do it again. They're doing stuff in their tiny character story vignettes where it's like, all right, I think they kind of know that, like, the chronological order of the series is Alpha, which is called 0 in Japan, 1, 2, 4, 5, 3. And 3 is supposed to be distant future. But 5 is like right around the corner and everyone looks the same. Oh yeah, and the world ends or something. Like, it's like, doesn't make any sense. They got no room to grow if they ever want to make a story. So, of course, last character comes out, is able to get a prediction about sending her spirit back in time to her body to 0, the original one in the chronologically, and change time or whatever. I'm like, cool. Maybe that means Street Fighter 6 will just be like, it doesn't fucking matter. Because this is a series where they're like, we'll keep a character dead.
That's what I think Mortal Kombat 11 basically did. Like, there's all this time travel stuff, and they're just like, they're gonna use it to just nuke it and be like, whatever, nothing matters anymore.
King of Fighters is famous of be like, yeah, you killed off the bad guy in like the first game, and he's still in all these games. Yeah, because people want to play as him. Doesn't fucking matter. Yeah, there is still like a story, but it doesn't fucking matter. Street Fighter is all caught up in its story of like, whatever. But the game is actually, like, really fucking fun now, and it's actually the cheapest it's ever been. All the DLC is just in the thing, and blah, blah, blah. Of course, they added in an extra season that they weren't expecting to, so there technically is DLC now. But it's super fun. And another fighting game I picked up recently was Virtua Fighter 5, its new PS4 version, which is titled Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, because the last version of Virtua Fighter 5 was called Final Showdown. And fuck it, if the names were swapped, they could have called this Final Showdown, but now it's Ultimate Showdown. In Japan, it's titled Virtua Fighter Esports. So remember when I was like, the full title apparently is going to be, because before it was announced, Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown Esports. Didn't make any sense. In Japan, it's called Esports. And I've been playing that game since it was free on PlayStation Plus.
I did grab it as well. I've only played like an hour of it, though.
I saw you were in training mode. This is like the first real, like, I played Tekken in the past. Tekken Tag Tournament was my, like, launch PS2 game. I fucking love Tekken Tag Tournament. But as an adult, never really touched a 3D fighter except this one. And it's really fun. It's very simple. It's a 3-button fighter. I'm not a big fan of, like, a fighting game that uses a button to block or to guard. But this one, for some reason, kind of works for me. And it's maybe because there are only 2 other buttons to press. Kick and punch.
I'm so confused, bro. To be honest with you,
but that's the thing is there are so many moves for each character, but I kind of boil it down to less about individual moves and their timings and more about animations. Like, yes, this person could be facing left or right. They could be turned around, but this move is just this other move. Just the fact that they need to work the arm to fit around. That's how it works like this. That's kind of how I look at it. And like for a fighting game like this, where there is so many fucking moves for each character, it's kind of best to just, like, look up what are, like, the 5, like, good ones, and then just slowly expand your knowledge as you're, like, because I've been playing this online on stream, and I'm like, all right, I have, like, these 3, when it's my turn to finally hit back, one of these 3 things, this is what I'll do. And if I can loop in other things, cool, but, like, I know I can kick with this girl. I know I can do this, blah, blah, blah. Still haven't figured out how I can transition from regular punching up into the thing where she stands on one foot, because she can't move when she's in that 1 foot stance. So I got to figure out why I would ever get there. But, like, I'm having fun with it. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been trying to do the training, and it's just so fundamentally different from Mortal Kombat in terms of
for sure.
button layouts that I'm just really struggling. Like, I'm on very easy in the arcade mode, and I'm losing.
Really?
Like, not in the first couple, but like the last couple fights in the arcade mode, I'm like, what?
I don't want to pour salt in any wounds, but like, this is weirdly one of those arcade modes that's actually overall pretty easy. Street Fighter 4, I remember picking that up, not understanding fighting games at all, trying to get into it, playing that game on super easy, and I'm like, right out the gate, these people are like going for blood on me. I don't understand. I played this on normal on stream on arcade mode. I'm like, oh, I basically beat this and I didn't even really learn how to play. But I think the thing that I need to learn personally, which is difficult for me because I also am a 2D fighting player, I'm a Capcom fighting person. I own Mortal Kombat 11 on PS5. I want to play more of that too. The moving in and out of the plane, like this, and like the training mode will show that if you have the CPU dummy do attacks on you, it'll tell you can dodge in this direction to avoid it. Like, if a person goes to backhand it, don't dodge into the backhand. But I'm still thinking about it as a 2D fighting game where it doesn't matter about where the attack is coming from. It's a hurt box that extends out from their body.
A lot of crouching. It doesn't matter to me because they just will
they can still hit high anyway.
Yeah, or hit high anyway. But then, like every other classic button mashing tactic you do, sometimes you do something cool, and I'm like, oh, that was cool. I remember I hit someone into like the edge of the cage and knocked them out. Basically, I like leg sweeps them, and then they basically hit the back of the head on the cage and died. And like that was it. And I'm like, cool. I
like that it has ring outs. I like that the game's stages aren't just visual; they are different sizes, dimensions. Do they have a wall? Do they have half wall, a low wall, no wall? You know what I mean? I like that aspect of Virtua Fighter.
It's also very, at moments, super slow. It's very like compared to like other fighting games I play, where it feels like you should take your time and think about what you're doing, or wait for a moment to strike instead of a like. Granted, we're not professional fighting game experts because I know in those games you do wait a lot more and like because you're looking for frames. But like for what level we're playing at, it's much different. Instead of just rush them or throw a range thing. There's no range things. Attacks.
There's no meter. You don't have any resource. It is just straight up, out technical them. And I'm liking it. It's
I'm gonna give it a little more shot, but like I don't know how much longer I'll play.
I mean, it's free, so it's
exactly,
like, hey, you didn't lose anything.
Yeah.
And I want to give this game lots of love, and I hope a lot of people give it love. And it has the $10 DLC pack. That's all the cosmetic stuff. You can character customize. There's Virtual Fighter 1 character models of some of them, right? So I hope people give it love because Sega has straight up said, and I guess this technically matters to us because we're technically Sega adjacent in what we cover. This will determine the fate of the franchise because Virtua Fighter 5 was like a 2007 arcade PS3 and 360 game. That was it. There was none since. Yeah. So like they're bringing this back, like see if it works.
Good.
It's because it's redone in the Yakuza engine.
That makes a lot of sense. Because I was gonna say like the sweat and their body textures look.
It's
good.
redone. Yep. In fact, when you boot it
up,
up,
the clothing looks really good. Like on some of the ninjas and whatnot.
I play as Sarah, the blonde lady that has no ass. See, Devin over here is always talking about guys that have no ass. This lady has no ass. I'm not saying anything about it. But I just found it funny, like, it's the first time I think I've ever seen a woman in a video game.
I can't lie.
That's wearing skin-tight leather pants and she's got no ass.
Just our society has programmed me to look at ass.
It's worth it, though.
And like every character. It doesn't matter.
In any case, I've been playing as her, and I obviously can't customize any outfits because I didn't buy the DLC. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. The leather texture on her outfit is actually pretty cool. But another game that I will have played by the time this comes out is another fighting game that's almost the exact opposite, is Guilty Gear Strive. I like the Guilty Gear Xrd double line that they had on PS3 and PS4, but I didn't play too much of that. I kind of only really went back to play it when Strive was announced. But this is the fighting game that really does want super fast action and actually tells you to get the fuck close to the enemy. Its version of a meter, instead of like a resource that you build by getting hit or like, whatever, it's a bar that fills up when you walk towards an opponent or land an attack. And it will completely empty out if you start to try to like escape. And if you wait too long before advancing on the opponent, it destroys your entire resource. It's a game that's like, you need to get the fuck up close and personal. And it's very fast and flashy, and it comes out tomorrow is time of recording. My Amazon copy should arrive. So I probably will have obviously played a bunch of it by then, by the time this goes up. But like, I've been really looking forward to that fighting game. That might be like the one I play until Street Fighter 6, to be honest. But I'm having fun with Virtua Fighter 5. So I think that has been... Do you have anything else?
I'm sure there's other things.
I mean, I could talk about other things I played and watched too, but like I feel like
we did a good hour.
I feel like this is good. This has been a fantastic midway point to our lives of 2021 for the Sonic Movie Show. And this was pretty fun. We'll do one of these obviously at the end of the year. We'll do like some video game prediction stuff for award season. We'll talk about like what was our favorite thing of the year, all that kind of stuff. But like this, like I've been playing a lot of cool stuff. I think
based on
a lot of new stuff I want to be playing soon.
We did some trial runs last year with like the Game Awards and stuff, and we'll see what happens when we get closer. Who knows? Maybe we'll do something different, or like you said, predictions, then maybe a reaction / what are our own views on our favorite games. But yeah, I'm looking forward to December in general.
There's a bunch of stuff I plan on playing this year, so I think it'd be really fun. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a good year for the rest of the year. You can follow the show to find out what happens in our personal lives for the rest of the year on Twitter at Sonic Movie Show. I'm on Twitter at Ethan Absolutely, and Devin over here is on Twitter at CURSONAFUN. Hit us up. Let us know what you thought about the things we talked about. I always thought The Handmaid's Tale was a period piece because I never actually watched it until Devin said otherwise.
Nope, 21, baby.
Saw their outfits, and I'm like, oh, that must be from the 1600s, but I guess not. Yeah, we will see you next week for another episode. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next time. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.